What's happening, guys, and welcome to F1 Fresh. Things haven't been going smoothly for Red Bull recently, and the team principal has a few things to say about it. In this video, we're taking a look at what Christian Horner revealed about Red Bull issues. But before we get started, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our future videos. Number 8. Christian Horner's disappointment.
7, I think, in total, Christian Horner, but it's now your 9th title as team boss here, Max's Drivers' Championship.
Racing in the Grand Prix is never an easy task, and one person that's most affected by any problems aside from the drivers is the team principal. As you may have heard, in one of the recent races, the Red Bull team had a very bad day. After the race, Christian Horner was asked about the events that had taken place and how 2 cars from his team had suffered major problems. He was obviously very shocked at what had happened and said that he didn't remember the last time anything like that happened to them. One of the things that made the whole race even more disappointing was the fact that not only was Max Verstappen very close to securing the podium, Sergio Perez had a good chance as well. Christian Horner also expressed his disappointment at the fact that before the issue happened, the race overall had been going great for them.
Do you think it's the greatest championship you've been involved with?
I think it's right up there. I think it's right up there with the first one, to be honest with you. It feels as special.
Number 7. Issue with the cars.
Let's get straight into it. It's the engine question again with Red Bull. How much of a gutting announcement? Obviously you and Helmut and the team would have known before everybody else did, but...
While many accidents happen in these races, problems cropping up from the cars themselves are a rare occurrence. In this case, the Red Bull team's cars had suffered a fuel pump issue. These issues are particularly problematic because their source can sometimes be very hard to identify. That was also acknowledged by Christian Horner, who said after the race that they knew there was enough fuel in the car for them to function as intended, but it didn't go their way. He said that they would be taking apart the cars before their next race to figure out what the problem is. He was in good spirits while saying all this, and he said that they would be fighting back during their next race. Obviously, the team intends to make up for the points that they've lost in this race, and the drivers have also echoed similar sentiments. We'll get to their comments later, but for now, let's talk about what Christian Horner had to say about the race as a whole.
Yeah, of course it's disappointing. I think it's disappointing for Formula One to lose a brand like, Honda, and, we're grateful.
Number 6. Positive outlook.
As that, and because of the intensity of this year, it's been, a heck of a season.
While the cloud of their cars failing to function was still hanging over the entire Red Bull team, their principal did have an overall positive outlook on how things had gone down. He said after the race that while it had ended badly, right before their cars had failed, they had been very competitive with the other racers on the track. He particularly noted that Max Verstappen had been head-to-head with Charles Leclerc. He interestingly pointed out that at some points in the race, it even looked like they might snatch the win. In the end, he showed his patient nature by saying that the season ahead of them would be very long, meaning they would have plenty of chances to make up for the failure of their cars.
Tell us a bit about the journey the team has been on in those 7 years. I mean, you lost your engine supplier, you had to get a new one, got the one that McLaren rejected.
Number 5. Verstappen's frustration.
It poses some big questions, for the future. But we've really enjoyed working with Honda, the collaboration.
There were several comments made by the drivers of the cars as well. Max Verstappen in particular noted that what happened at the end was very frustrating for him. Besides that, as any expert driver would, he also talked about the smaller issues that he had faced during the race as well. One of the first things he mentioned was the fact that the balance of the car was off. Other than the balance being off, he also said that he had problems with the steering of the car. He said that it completely locked out at one point, and that as he went faster and faster, his steering control got more and more worse. Due to this, he was unable to recover and gain back the lead he had had over the other drivers. If all this sounds painful to you, well, Verstappen thought exactly the same.
There's an assurance that they're going to push all the way to the finish of the relationship at the end of next year.
Number 4. Painful experience. As we mentioned previously, before the fuel issues with the cars happened, the racing was going really well for the Red Bull team. In fact, even after all the minor issues during the race, Verstappen was still in the second position towards the end of the race. He noted all this after the match and said that even when the issue began happening, he wasn't all that worried because that would still mean that he would walk away with a few points for his team. What ended up being really painful for him was the fact that not only did his car have to retire from the race, but also that of his fellow teammate. This meant that none of them could secure points for Red Bull, and what was even more interesting is that his teammate Sergio Perez had a similar issue with his car. Number 3. Sergio's similar experience. Since Sergio also had to retire in the game, he was asked about his feelings regarding what had happened. He said that it was all very unfortunate and noted that he lost the engine. Another thing that was a bit scary was that during the trouble he had with the car, he had locked the rear completely. He also said in the interview that at that moment, there was nothing he could do. He also went on to say that he was definitely disappointed, echoing what Christian and Max had said. And just like them, he too was not downtrodden about it at all. He said that they had a long season ahead of them, which is why they would continue to work as hard as they had been. The teamwork that was on display by all the members of Red Bull that were interviewed was inspirational to witness. Number 2. Holding back Lewis Hamilton. Besides the fact that their racing vehicles suffered such a massive failure, one of the most disappointing things for the racers was that they had almost clinched a win for their team. Sergio Perez noted during his interview that they had held back Lewis Hamilton for a considerable portion of the race, so when he had to give up the lead to him, that was really disappointing. He also said that Lewis had been a tough opponent to race against. He again said that they were going to get to the bottom of why the cars had failed them in the first place. What's interesting is that if the cars hadn't failed so spectacularly, the winner could have been from the Red Bull team. Judging by their preceding races, it seems like they've identified the issue that plagued them, so let's talk about what that was. Number 1. Source of the problem. One of the first things that was done to identify the issue was determine whether it was caused by a component made by the team themselves or whether it was supplied by an outside supplier. After a bit of investigation, it was found that the issue lay with the fuel pump in the car. Initially, the people that were asked about this issue were unsure whether it was the lift pump or the collector. One thing that was somewhat in their favor was the fact that the issue had occurred on both cars, which meant that they could easily spot the issue. Since the problem was regarding the fuel pump, the concerned personnel also looked at the fuel that was supplied to them by Shell. But as we mentioned previously, the racers had been racing for a while after this incident happened, so it seems like everything was resolved by the engineers and the Red Bull team. These are some of the details about the revelations from Christian Horner. While these things certainly can be scary, it's good that they were able to figure things out and recover from their loss. We've come to the end of our video and we hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, then do let us know by smashing that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well as hit that bell icon if you don't want to miss out on our future videos. So until next time, take care and goodbye.